Commander Zixthor stood in the observation deck of the Galactic Council flagship, his translucent tentacles trembling as he watched the blue planet below. Earth, the death world that should have been silent by now. "Impossible," he whispered in his native tongue, the translator chip rendering it for his crew. "The scourge consumed everything. We saw it happen. 3 standard cycles ago, the Council had made their calculated decision. Earth, with its stubborn, aggressive inhabitants who refused every diplomatic overture, who expanded too quickly, who asked too many questions about the Council's authority, Earth would be eliminated. Not through direct warfare, which would make martyrs of the humans, but through a tragic accident, an outbreak. The Kthresh scourge was the Council's most guarded secret, a biological horror recovered from a dead civilization in the Andromeda sector. Once released, it converted any organic matter into ravenous, mindless shells, zombies as the old Earth horror vids called them. The infection spread through the air, through water, through the very soil. No species had ever survived it. Entire worlds had fallen silent within solar rotations. The Council had released it on Earth during a meteor shower, disguised as natural contamination. They had watched through stealth satellites as humanity tore itself apart, cities burned, governments collapsed. The infected outnumbered the living within weeks. Ambassador Tavine had opened champagne, a human custom she'd adopted, certain that the problem of humanity was solved. But humans didn't solve the way other species did. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from the surface," his communications officer reported, her 4 eyes wide with disbelief. "Multiple sources. They're coordinating." Zixthor pulled up the holographic display. His blood ran cold. The humans hadn't just survived. They'd adapted. In the ruins of what was once called New York, bands of survivors had done the unthinkable. They'd studied the infected. While other species would have fled, quarantined, prayed to their gods, humans had captured specimens, dissected them, mapped the pathogen structure in makeshift laboratories powered by scavenged solar panels and sheer determination. A woman named Dr. Sarah Chen had led the breakthrough. Working in a subway tunnel, surrounded by the moans of the infected above, she'd discovered that the scourge couldn't fully override human neuroplasticity. Somewhere deep in the zombified brain, fragments of memory remained, and humans, stubborn humans, had learned to weaponize even that. They'd developed a sonic frequency that confused the infected's coordination. They'd created pheromone markers that redirected hordes away from survivor settlements. They'd trained children, in combat tactics that would make seasoned Kreloth warriors weep. But the true horror, the thing that made Zixthor's species recoil in existential dread, was what came after. Humans had cured it, not completely, not at first. But Dr. Chen and her team of survivor scientists had synthesized a compound from their own antibodies, the antibodies they'd developed through sheer exposure and biological stubbornness. They'd called it Compound Lazarus. It couldn't bring back those too far gone, but it could stop the infection, reverse early-stage symptoms, grant immunity. Within 1 cycle, humanity had turned the tide. "Show me the current population analysis," Zixthor commanded. The hologram shifted. Before the outbreak, 8.7 billion humans. Expected survivors, 0. Actual survivors, 1.3 billion. 1.3 billion humans who had stared into the abyss of extinction and punched it in the face. But the data that truly terrified the Council was what came next. Human space activity hadn't ceased, it had accelerated. Desperate for resources, for answers, for revenge, humanity had launched a dozen colony ships to nearby systems. They'd weaponized their own satellites. They'd cracked quantum communication codes that the Council thought unbreakable. And they'd found the proof. "Sir, incoming transmission." It's from Earth's temporary government. They're requesting to speak with the Council." On screen appeared a man in tattered military uniform, his face scarred, his eyes harder than neutron stars. General Marcus Webb, former U.S. Army, now Supreme Commander of Earth's Unified Defense Forces. "Greetings, Galactic Council," he said, his voice carrying a weight that made the universal translator struggle to capture its menace. "We found your satellites. We recovered your biological weapon canisters. We have all the evidence we need." Zixthor's tentacles went rigid. Webb continued, "We've survived your plague. We've adapted. We've thrived. And now we have a message for you and every species in this galaxy." He leaned forward. "Humanity doesn't forgive. Humanity doesn't forget. and humanity refuses to fall. The transmission cut to show Earth's surface, not the ruins the Council expected, but something worse: reconstruction. Massive industrial complexes rising from ashes, shipyards in orbit, building vessels bristling with weapons reverse-engineered from Council technology, armies drilling in synchronized perfection. A species that had been at each other's throats for millennia had found unity in survival. They discovered purpose in defiance. "We're not asking for permission to join your council anymore," Webb's voice returned. "We're informing you that Earth is now a sovereign power. We have 30 colony worlds seated across this sector. We have the biological knowledge to defeat the scourge, and we know you've used it before. We have weapons you don't expect and soldiers you can't imagine." He stood, and behind him, thousands of humans stood with him. Survivors, warriors, scientists, children who'd grown up fighting zombies and emerged harder than titanium. "You tried to kill us because you feared us," Webb said softly. "You should have tried harder." The transmission ended. In the council chamber, 50 species sat in stunned silence. They'd unleashed their ultimate weapon on humanity, expecting extinction. Instead, they'd forged humanity into something far more dangerous: a unified, battle-hardened civilization with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. Ambassador Tavine's champagne glass shattered on the floor. Humanity had faced its nightmare. Earth had bled. Billions had died. But from the ashes rose something the galaxy had never seen: a species that treated apocalypse as merely another obstacle. The Council had wanted humanity gone. They'd gotten humanity awakened instead, and the galaxy would never be the same.